Hey all, so this is my second video of me just uploading my thoughts on things. Still looking for work, but I guess some good news on that front is that I've decided to study for the LSAT to apply to law school in case nothing else pans out in the short term. Um, and today I just wanted to share my thoughts on the media ecosystem in this country. Um, And granted, you can probably browse on YouTube and find someone with much better takes and someone who's done far more research into this, but I will attempt to speak to this as just someone who does keep track of politics, does watch the news, does diversify their news, and does try to get viewpoints from all sides. Um, so as I mentioned in my last video, I'm 31. And I just remember growing up during the Bush years, even back then, there seemed to be this like divide that was very clear. And I'm sorry to say it, but a lot of this divide, which now I think is blown up to just incredible proportions in this country. I don't think we've ever been more polarized in my lifetime. I think a lot of this has been fomented by, simply put, propaganda. What is propaganda? It is information disseminated to essentially make a particular political party look good and their enemies look bad. And I'll give you the example of Fox News. They've always been the propaganda arm for the Republican Party in this country, and they've been pretty good at it. In fact, I would say a large reason for Donald Trump being reelected was because of Fox just doing their best to paint him in a decent light and not showing the less than decent parts of him that, if you diversify your news and kept track during the campaign, you heard a lot of things that would definitely be a turnoff to even low information voters that Fox News just simply would not air. And what does this do? Misinformation, disinformation. It's been used in this country by billionaires who run these corporate media organizations. And by the way, so you talk about Fox, you might as well bring up CNN, but they're not the same. People say that CNN is like the propaganda arm for the Democrats. I mean, sort of, not to the same degree that Fox goes all out for Trump, right? Like, how many CNN hosts have you seen in the past 20 years being elevated to positions in a Democratic cabinet? I don't recall Obama hiring anyone from CNN nor Biden. Fox, on the other hand, with Trump, and, they glaze him, he promotes them. He's a very much a quid pro quo personality. You do something for me, I'll do something for you. That that works, I guess, in the mob. People have drawn this analogy. I'm not going to beat it like it's a dead horse, but it doesn't quite work in the highest levels of government, especially in a democracy. Just thinking about it, actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to go on a tangent here concerning Fox News. For example, Jeanine Pirro, like, there are photos and videos, texts of hers that have been out in public for years, just showing her to be a drunk, troubled at home, like she was trying to spy on her husband because she thought he was cheating on her or something. And this caused a whole scandal back in the day before she was ever a host on Fox. And that initially ruined her political career, but, Trump promoted her to now the, what was it, the DC Attorney General or a DC lead prosecutor. I'm not so, she's been promoted high up, but I'm not, the name of her position escapes me. I'm not from DC, and definitely I'm glad to not be dealing with what's currently going on in DC. But the point is, the lady is unqualified to hold any serious position outside of TV. She is a TV personality first and foremost. If she was ever a competent judge or lawyer, I think those days have been behind her for decades at this point. Like, every time I see her, she just seems like an angry drunk, and I have alcoholics in my family, and she reminds me of them. And let's see, who else? Pete Hegseth, famously also party dude. What I didn't know and found out recently is that he's, of course, a millionaire who owns multiple homes, and then he was trying to compare himself to poor Americans who are struggling, and I just thought that was nice. Trump is always calling into Fox because he knows they'll just glaze him. They'll, do everything in their power to make him look good, even though he rambles and rambles. Donald Trump, by the way. And again, so this video is definitely more political than the last, and yeah, whatever comes of that will come of that. But let me just say, Donald Trump is like your drunk uncle at the party, who, the drunker he gets, the more exaggerated his stories get, and his stories are always like he's the hero. He's talking about his time in Nam or something, and he, it gets more and more incredulous and unbelievable, and eventually he's just saying, like, yeah, I saved a village from napalm while juggling 3 babies on my back or something while avoiding fire from the Viet Cong. Like, he's that type of dude, and he's running the country. Or at least, he's making a show of running the country. I think there are those in his sphere who are actually doing more behind the scenes, like Project 2025, which for a while I thought that was just a conspiracy theory, but then quite literally he has, he's elevated many of these Project 2025 authors to high-level positions. He's followed the playbook that's online for anyone to see, if any of you want to Google that real fast. It's scary, to be honest, but funny. Free speech is so ingrained in this country's spirit that I'd be, people have been screaming, this is a fascist takeover, this is a fascist coup. And yes, history doesn't quite repeat itself, but it does echo. And Donald Trump, his rhetoric, his actions, everything he's done, his policies, they all have an authoritarian tinge to them. But I think what majorly separates his administration from the Nazis, for instance, is the fact that there wasn't free speech as there currently is in America, in 1938 Germany, right? You said something against the Nazis and you were put in a camp, never to be seen again. Meanwhile, with the internet nowadays, Trump does something stupid, it's all over the web. Only his diehard supporters who only watch Fox will never come across it, and they're too stubborn, too old, too set in their ways, or too racist or bigoted to really give a crap anyway, if they do come across that. Yeah. Fox News is a blight. I'll just come out and say it. Corporate news in general is a blight. Billionaires deciding what media is disseminated to the average cable viewer in this country is not a good thing. You don't want rich people deciding what the poor people get to watch and learn. That's not fun. That's not good for, I would hope, self-explanatory reasons. But yeah, Fox used to be more of a joke, something to laugh at, something that, Jon Stewart, back when he was the Daily Show, host for every day of the week, he would make fun of them. I'd watch, I'd laugh, I'd sometimes tune into Fox myself just to see what they were saying. It's always as ridiculous as you expect it to be. It's just a bunch of hate, fear-mongering, selective journalism. They just pick and choose, the pieces that promotes the Republican agenda and makes the Democrats look bad. For example, now with the ICE raids, it's nonstop. I'm seeing every other week a story about this illegal immigrant who R-worded someone or killed them or what have you. And, these people represent a very small statistic of illegal immigrants, the vast majority of whom are just hardworking people trying to make it, trying to send money back to their families or something like that, right? So it's hate. It's really just hate. And God, does free speech mean millionaires on TV get to spout hate against minorities and the poor? Is that how free speech works? Maybe, maybe not. The point is, Fox News has probably teams of corporate lawyers all willing to bat for them whenever things get out of hand. Maybe sometime in the future, someone new will come in and there'll be regulations put on this propaganda bullshit. But for now, this is the environment we have to live in, and frankly, statistics have shown, go to the Pew Research website, that the vast majority of Trump supporters will only watch one or two news sources and not diversify where they get their news from. And a lot of it is just Fox and Newsmax, right? And so if you're only watching those two things, you're living in a different reality than what's actually going on. And those people are not fun to interact with in real life or online. We all know them. We all have a family member who's like this. It may surprise you to know that I have someone very close to me in my family, despite coming from a Latin background, who is somewhat like that, although I think they've finally begun to see the light. Yeah. It's just silly. And I'm sure most of you by now who do keep track are hearing about how Newsom is trolling Trump. He's essentially just doing the same all caps tweet, language, lack of grammar that Trump himself does whenever he tweets on Truth Social, or back when he was actually on Twitter, would do. And it's just hilarious because you tune into Fox and they're saying, Newsom, you're being so childish. This isn't how you get ahead. You're not serious. Meanwhile, Newsom is only copying Trump. So you can't apply that criticism to Newsom and not apply it to Trump himself. Trump is the originator of this really unprofessional, non-politician-like behavior on social media that, his grammar is atrocious. 6th graders in California can write better than that guy. He's the president of the United States because he was a Nepo baby who inherited $400 million from his daddy, and, it's just a whole lot, man. I don't know. If you are a MAGA supporter and you come across this video and you don't immediately shut it off because you see this brown face, although I'm told I look like I could be from almost anywhere, right? Anywhere except Asia, I guess. Anyway, if you come across this and you feel like something's not quite right whenever you're tuning into Fox, why are they criticizing Newsom for just doing the same thing as Trump, right? Well, I applaud you for finally stepping outside of the bubble and for looking into this. And trust me, there's a treasure trove of things to continue looking into. The rabbit hole runs deep. This isn't quite a conspiracy. This is just life as we know it in America currently. Corporations get away with murder, and corporate news is no different. It wasn't always so bad, but it's gotten bad. And so that's something we have to deal with. Anyway, before I tune off, and I don't have a script or anything, this is all just off the top of my head. I'm just waiting around for my next gig order. Yeah, I just want to very much emphasize the fact that most of the hosts on Fox News are millionaires. They are rich. They are wealthy. And yet they are constantly the ones telling the poor how to behave. If that doesn't strike you as odd, then I'm afraid you need to look inward. You need to recognize that perhaps you weren't given the best of educations growing up, and maybe it's time to start reading up on a few things. I just want to live in a country where we can all hold hands and be successful, be happy. You may not subscribe to a worldview like that, and you don't have to. I just want you to subscribe to the worldview that's accurate, that's informed. So you better know how to vote in favor of your own interest come next election. That's it.